Onions are one of those crops that work quietly in the background. They're not flashy like tomatoes, they don't demand constant care like cucumbers, and they won't sprawl all over your garden like zucchini. But here's their secret superpower: they're incredible neighbors. When you plant onions alongside the right companions, they protect, enhance, and sometimes even boost the flavor of surrounding crops, all without taking much in return. Today on Soil Doctor, I'm going to show you exactly which 14 plants you should grow next to onions, why they work so well, and how to grow each one to absolute perfection so both the onions and their friends thrive. Before we dig into each plant, remember this. Onions deter pests because of their sulfur-rich aroma, and they're shallow-rooted, so they don't hog deep soil nutrients. That means you can tuck them into many different garden beds without causing competition. The trick is knowing which partners benefit most. First up, carrots, the legendary partner. Why do they work so well together? Well, onions hide the scent of carrots from carrot root flies, while carrots don't compete heavily with onions for space or nutrients. Here's how you plant them. Sow carrots directly into the soil in loose, stone-free beds, alternate rows of onions and carrots about 12 inches apart. To really make them thrive, carrots need consistent moisture until germination, which can take up to 3 weeks. Thin seedlings so they're at least 2 inches apart. Oh, and avoid fresh manure, it causes forked roots. Keep weeds down early as carrots don't like competition. Next, let's talk about lettuce, the cool weather winner. Why do onions and lettuce make such a great team? Onions deter aphids and thrips from lettuce, and their tall, slender leaves offer light shade in summer. When planting, put lettuce between onion rows, spacing them 6 to 8 inches apart. For the best results, lettuce prefers rich, moist soil. Mulch lightly to keep roots cool and prevent bitterness. Harvest outer leaves regularly to keep plants producing. And don't forget to water evenly. Dryness leads to bolting. Chamomile is, honestly, a real flavor booster in the garden. It enhances onion flavor and as a bonus draws beneficial insects like hoverflies, which love to eat aphids. You can start chamomile from seed or transplants, planting them between onion rows or right at the edges of your beds. Chamomile really likes full sun and just average soil, so you don't need to fuss over it too much. Actually, don't over-fertilize. This plant thrives in lean conditions. Make sure to deadhead the flowers to encourage even more blooms, or if you like, let a few go to seed so they can self-sow for next year. Tomatoes and onions are, well, a great team in the garden. Onions help by repelling aphids and thrips from your tomatoes, while tomatoes in return give onions some light afternoon shade, which is super helpful in hot climates. To plant them together, just place onions along the edges of your tomato beds, making sure to leave at least 18 inches between the onions and tomato stems. Tomatoes need rich, well-drained soil and honestly, a deep watering about once a week. Mulch heavily to prevent soil splash and prune those lower leaves to keep the air moving. Oh, and don't forget to stake or cage your tomatoes early so the fruit stays off the ground. Marigolds are like the secret weapon against soil pests. They release compounds into the soil that help deter nematodes and also repel pests like cabbage moths. To use them effectively, tuck marigolds between your onion plants or at the ends of your rows. Marigolds do best in full sun and need moderate watering, nothing too fancy. Make sure to deadhead the spent blooms to keep them flowering all season long. If you're starting from seed, get them going indoors about 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date and you'll be all set. Alright, let's talk about coriander, also known as cilantro, and why it's such a fantastic pest distractor. Its strong scent, you see, is like a natural repellent, keeping aphids, spider mites, and potato beetles at bay, plus its flowers are a magnet for beneficial insects. Now, when it comes to planting, you'll want to sow coriander seeds near onions, keeping them about 6 inches apart. Make sure to thin the seedlings, giving each plant a little breathing space. Coriander thrives in cool weather, so keep the soil moist to delay bolting. For a continuous supply, try succession sowing every 2 to 3 weeks. And remember, for the best flavor, harvest the leaves before the plants start to flower. Moving on to dill, which is a real pollinator magnet. Dill attracts ladybugs and lacewings, which feast on pests that go after onions and other veggies. When planting dill, sow the seeds directly near onions after the last frost, spacing them 8 to 10 inches apart. Dill is a fan of full sun and well-drained soil, so keep that in mind. It's best to avoid transplanting, as dill doesn't like its roots disturbed. If you're aiming for more leafy growth, pinch off the flowers early on. Now let's chat about parsley, the space-saving protector. This herb is great at deterring asparagus beetles and fits quite neatly between onion rows. You can start parsley indoors 6 to 8 weeks before transplanting, or sow it directly in the spring. Space your plants 6 to 8 inches apart for the best results. Parsley thrives in rich, moist soil and partial sun, so keep it well watered for those tender leaves. Snip stems from the outer edges to encourage fresh growth, and you'll have a healthy, productive parsley patch in no time. Basil offers a double defense in your garden. It deters thrips, beetles, and flies, and at the same time, it benefits from the pest protection onions provide. To get started, transplant basil seedlings around the perimeter of your onion beds, making sure to space them about 12 inches apart. Basil really loves heat and sun, so keep that in mind. Water at the base rather than on the leaves, and remember to pinch off flowers regularly to keep the plants producing leaves for a longer period. Oh, and don't forget, harvesting often encourages bushiness. Beets and onions are a great pair because they use different root zones, which means they don't compete for nutrients. Plus, onions help discourage leaf miners that can sometimes attack beets. For planting, sow beet seeds in rows between your onions, spacing them 3 to 4 inches apart. Beets do best in loose, fertile soil, and you'll want to keep them evenly watered to prevent the roots from turning woody. You can harvest them young for tender greens and roots, or let them mature fully. Either way works. Spinach is a fantastic early season filler, growing quickly and taking advantage of the space between onions before the onions mature. Onions also help deter leaf miners from bothering your spinach. To plant, sow spinach seeds in early spring or fall, about 4 inches apart between the onion rows. Spinach prefers cool weather and rich, moist soil. Be sure to harvest the outer leaves often, and if you get a warm spell, use a bit of shade cloth to prevent bolting. It's a simple way to keep your spinach thriving. Strawberries and onions make a pretty smart team. Onions repel pests like aphids and slugs from strawberries, and the best part is, they don't affect the fruit's flavor at all. Here's what you do. Plant onions as a border all the way around your strawberry beds, spacing them about 6 inches apart. To help your strawberries really thrive, make sure they get full sun, rich soil, and consistent moisture. Mulch with straw to keep those berries clean and reduce rot. And if you want bigger berries, just remember to remove those runners. Summer savory is, honestly, one of the unsung heroes in the garden. It repels bean beetles and, interestingly, is believed to improve onion flavor. You can direct sow summer savory after the threat of frost has passed, or start it indoors and transplant the seedlings about 10 inches apart. This herb prefers light, sandy soil and full sun. It grows pretty quickly, so succession sow if you want a steady harvest, and don't forget to pinch the tips to encourage branching. Peppers and onions are a classic combo for a reason. Onions help repel aphids and beetles from your pepper plants, while peppers, in turn, help shield onions from the wind. When planting, space your peppers about 18 inches apart and tuck onions along their edges. Peppers like warm soil, full sun, and a good deep watering once a week. Mulch helps keep the soil evenly moist and can prevent blossom end rot. And here's a tip. Avoid high nitrogen fertilizers because too much leaf growth can actually reduce fruiting. For maximum benefit, group your taller plants like tomatoes and peppers to the north so they don't shade out the shorter crops. Fill in the gaps with herbs like parsley, basil, and dill. This creates a living pest control system. Rotate these pairings each season to help prevent soil-borne disease buildup. Keep your soil fertile with compost and try not to disturb onion roots when you're harvesting their companion plants. When you get this mix just right, you end up with a diverse, self-defending garden where pests are confused, soil stays healthy, and your harvests are, well, abundant. That's the Soil Doctor way. If you enjoyed this guide and you're ready for more proven soil-first gardening strategies, make sure you subscribe to Soil Doctor and share this with your gardening friends. Healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy you. See you in the next one.